Hi guys, welcome to Salta, Argentina. I got in on Sunday. It's actually Thursday now, so it's been quite a while. A lot has happened since then, so I will fill you guys in as quickly as possible, although it usually ends up taking way too long. So last time I talked to you guys, I was in Potosí in Bolivia. There were some things I forgot to leave or mention and learn some more things while I was there. So I'm gonna fill you in on that first. One of the things I noticed actually there that I was happy to see in Bolivia in general is there were a lot of signs like posted on trees and stuff that were teaching people about taking care of the environment and cleaning up after themselves, which I was really happy to see because you see a lot of trash and pollution around Latin America, so it looks like they are trying to improve that and educate the people and everything. So really happy to see that. More about the mines that I was telling you guys about last time. So Potosí back in the day was actually like the richest and most populated city at the time, more than London and Paris and all these places that are now well known and famous. There was literally so much silver in the mountain. They said they could have built a bridge from Potosí to Madrid in Spain purely made of silver. So that just gives you an idea of how much silver was coming from that mountain. Anyways, what else? I learned some more after going to the Casa de Moneda and doing a walking tour after that. So got to see again in the Casa de Moneda where they made the coins and the whole process throughout time, how that's changed along the way with technology. There was originally another Casa de Moneda, but basically it wasn't big enough. So they built the second one that was bigger, which is now the museum. So one of the things I learned, which is cool actually, there were different Casa de Monedas in different parts of the world. There was one in Mexico and in Lima and somewhere else I want to say. But the way that you could tell where the coins were made is they would have this emblem on them showing the city it was made from. For example, Potosí, it was a P, T, S, and an I all laid on top of each other, and that became the emblem. And if you take away, I think it was the P, I believe, you would see that when you look at it, it actually looks similar to a dollar sign. And so that's actually how they came up with the dollar sign. It originated from that, so that was really interesting. Got to see different machines they used, as I mentioned. So one of these where they would flatten out the bars of silver before making the coins. There were these big wooden machines and wheels, and underneath they would have these mules which were walking around in circles turning these machines. Really sad, but they said these mules, they were pretty much worked all day in 8-hour shifts, but 24 hours a day. And they were worked so much that normally they would live 25 to 30 years, but they only lived 6 to 7 months because of how much they were working them. So that's really crazy and really sad. Also learned in the room where they were basically like melting the silver to make the bars that would later become the coins. Anyways, they were showing, also mentioning different types of people, the indigenous people, the mestizos, which were a mix of the indigenous and the Spaniards, and the mulatos, or mulatas, either way, which were a mix of the Spanish and the black people. So anyways, they basically had also brought a lot of slaves from Africa, which were at some point working there, but because obviously the conditions were quite different from what they were used to climate-wise, with a high altitude and it being really cold, basically they couldn't survive there. They would die soon after working in those conditions, so they were later moved to work in other areas. And I also forgot to mention that, but I did learn when I was in Puerto Rico, they actually have villages near there, which also have descendants from Africa. So in those towns you'll see like communities of black people living there, which you don't see very often in Bolivia, but in certain places you do. And anyways, that's how that all came about. So learn about all these things, about the mines in the Casa de Moneda, about the 8 million that died in the mines. Basically I was told it was during the first century of the Spanish ruling, so actually way more have died, but that's how many died just within that time. And also I was told that 4 to 5 people die per day working in the mines. So again, really insane, really crazy working conditions. Really sad. Also the miners, they have 2 belief systems. I had talked about Theo if you guys remember that in the last video, I believe. But they also were Catholic's the main religion throughout Latin America because of the Spaniards. But when they were basically out in the world, you know, they would be praying to God and they had those Christian beliefs. But once they went into the mines, it was like going into the earth, into the underground, which is like the territory of the devil. So when they were inside the mines, they would do the offerings and everything to Tio. Although again, like once they were out, they were still believers in God. So some interesting things there. On the tour that I did afterwards, we went to a lot of places I had seen, but got to learn more about the history and different stories of things that had happened there. Went to the arch of the city, which divided the city where the Spanish lived and the indigenous people lived below. They even had their own church that was built for them because they weren't allowed to mix, which actually looked more like a mosque, which came from, again, the Spanish style, because in Spain they also have an influence, like Moroccan influence from their history. So anyways, that was interesting. It's a really pretty church though. Got to see, well, different areas and streets, and you can see the colonial architecture and all the balconies that was Spanish influence. There's this one balcony where they hung a lot of people, but there's a story behind it. It used to be someone's home, and the father had told the son basically when he no longer had anything to live for, he gave him a rope and said, hang yourself on this balcony here. Anyways, and like left this for him when he felt like there was nothing left. So one day the son decides to hang himself when he felt that way, and basically it breaks, the rope breaks from the balcony and all these silver coins come out from the ceiling. So his dad was actually trying to teach him a lesson that to have self-worth and that there is always something more to live for and for yourself. And when you think it's all over, it's not. And anyways, he had all these riches coming from that. So really interesting stories. Also, I didn't even notice, but in the main plaza there's a miniature version basically of the Statue of Liberty, like we have, is also given to them by the French. The difference though is that her breasts are actually showing, unlike ours, and supposedly what that is showing and means is showing how Potosi was providing like so much for everyone, from all the riches, all the silver and everything, and also how they're like just milking that mountain dry. And anyways, it was interesting to see that. The Casa de Moneda also has this mask given by the French, which has two meanings, and it's kind of like one of those ones where if you cover half of it, you see one face, and you cover the other half and you kind of see a different face expression. One was symbolic of the Spaniards and all their greed with the silver coming from the mountain, and the other was the indigenous people like working in the mines and everything they were dealing with and going through. So I think that's most of what I had left to tell you guys about Potosi. Since then I came to Salta. It was a bit of a long way to get here, almost an entire day of traveling, several different buses, but eventually I made it. The border crossing itself was pretty quick and smooth. There was a control point somewhere after crossing the border though, where they made us all get out and check our stuff. They didn't actually go through mine, but they did go through some other people's, I'm sure, since it's a Bolivia-Argentina border crossing, making sure no one's bringing anything in they shouldn't be. Since then, it's been mostly pretty chill though. I've been trying to get the whole vaccine situation taken care of for rabies, which was the main reason why I came earlier. Finally did that yesterday. Got the first shots for the vaccine. It took forever though, like literally the last few days I just been going to the hospital, trying to get to talk to the doctor and get this taken care of. A whole mess as usual, which I'm used to because I used to live in Argentina, so I've been there before. But the point is, and the good news is that I got it started. So I'll have to do another shot in about a week and another one in about 2 weeks or so. So glad that's finally underway. Other than that, I've been exploring the city a bit, but at the same time taking it really easy and trying not to do too much because, for one, I've been here before all those 10 years ago, so I have done a lot of the sites and things. And the other one is my friend's coming Saturday, so I know I'm going to do a lot of that sightseeing stuff with her. So don't want to be repeating everything I know we're going to be doing in a few days. But I did go to the Casa Cultural de America, I think it's called. This cultural building. They actually had an exhibition on Barbies that was interesting. I went to the Museo de Bellas Artes, which was another interesting museum. They had an exhibition on women of Argentina that have made a difference. So it was interesting learning about different important women through Argentina, and again showing the value of women and the mark they can make on life and humanity and everything. Also went yesterday to this archaeological museum, which is really interesting. Argentina, the north of Argentina, was part of the farthest reach of the Incan Empire. So only 20 years ago, they actually found these 3 children that were sacrifices from that time, buried in the mountain over 500 years ago. And they were in perfectly preserved condition, like more than anywhere else from that time, pre-Hispanic time. And so there was, I believe, a 6-year-old girl, 7-year-old boy, something like that, and a 15-year-old girl who was one of the virgins from one of those temples I had mentioned previously from the Isla de la Luna. Yeah, that one. Similar story. Anyways, so although I had learned a lot about the Incans before, it was interesting learning more. They have one of them on display at a time, so I got to see the boy, and literally in perfect condition, looks like a doll, like not like a skeleton. All the skin, hair, eyelashes, everything still intact. Even their organs are still intact. So really crazy. The reason why is because the mountain is super, super high. It's like 6,700 meters, which is about 22,000 something feet, and covered in snow. And so basically it just preserved their bodies really well. And when they're on display, they have similar conditions to keep preserving them. So again, interesting to learn about that and see that. There was also another mummy they discovered about 80 years ago, but it had been moved around a lot because these 2 guys found it and they were trying to sell it, and it kind of bounced around between different museums and things like that until finally someone noticed in Buenos Aires is displayed in this bank, and they realized like what it was, and eventually brought it back to Salta and had it taken care of the way it should have been, and later put in this museum. Unfortunately not in the same condition as the others because it wasn't taken care of properly during those 80 years or 70 years. But anyways, really interesting. Went to San Bernardo yesterday. It was a mountain here with a really great view of the city. Went with a couch surfer, actually hiked up there. And been staying with a couch surfer also since I got in, besides the first night. So that's been cool, hanging out, having dinner back at the place in the evenings. But yeah, mostly taking it easy, really. Other than that, again, some things. Let's see. Salta is known for its singers and poets, apparently. There's a lot here. The folkloric music's really big in this area. Also, I learned a little bit more about the economy here. Unfortunately, it's not doing too well, but I didn't realize how bad. Apparently, it's like the second worst after Venezuela, which I really didn't realize it was that bad. Not that the other ones are good, but they're more stable, and here it's just been getting worse and worse, unfortunately. The exchange rate right now is 42 Argentinian pesos to $1. When I was first here in 2005 studying, it was 3 to 1. So crazy how much inflation's gone up. Hopefully eventually it'll get better, but it hasn't been looking good so far, so that sucks. Although it's really bad as far as those things go, and living here, obviously it's different than visiting, but it has been really nice being back. So many familiar things, and remembering all the reasons why I loved it here, visiting and living here. Just like all the little things, even the sidewalks are familiar. The napkins, how they're like waxy and they hardly absorb anything. The keys, they look like they're toys and not real keys. And all the different foods I've been eating again, which is finally different. No more soup and rice and all that stuff that I've been eating the last 2 months or so. So trying lots of stuff. Again, licuados, empanadas, sándwiches de miga, the meat, there's so much, and it's amazing. So I've really been enjoying being back, besides the whole vaccine situation. But anyways, loving it here. People are nice and friendly, and they talk to you and interact with you, which coming from Bolivia is quite a change. I'm not saying no one's nice in Bolivia, but I've noticed, at least with a lot of the indigenous people there in Peru, they really just don't want to have anything to do with you. So you're buying something from them, you know, they do the interaction, but other than that, like, people don't really talk to you. If it is people that, you know, they're not still like living the same life for the last whatever 100 years or so, and have progressed more in time, that's a bit different. You know, I obviously have met nice people, but it's just different. Like, here it feels different as soon as arriving and seeing people smile and having conversations, just, you know, walking around and just being here. It's a really nice change, really nice to be back. So let me show you real quick where I am, and then I'll say goodbye because I know it's been way too long as usual. This is Plaza 9 de Julio, which is the main plaza. The Basilica, the church, is back there. And there's some music playing back this way. That's the main, well, monument there. I don't know where, oh, there's a guy playing guitar. And more important buildings and museums back that way. So that's about it for now. I know I chewed your ear off once again, but I will talk to you soon, probably when Amber gets here and we've done some more sightseeing of the area. Talk to you then. Bye.